Right, then I'll share my screen. Okay, kindly confirm if you can see my screen and if it's very visible to you. Can you see my screen? What do you see?
Yes, we can see.
All right. Okay, so today we are here to write our first draft, hopefully before the end of 2 hours. Today I'll not go beyond 2 hours. That's what I hope to achieve. So we want to draft our first draft or write our first draft of 5,000 to 7,000 words, which is just a typical length for a research paper or what we call a research article. And if you are writing a master's thesis, you should have about 40 pages, which is approximately 2,000 words. And if you're a PhD student, you should have about 50,000 words, which is between 50 to 70 pages. So this is excluding references, of course. Let me put that out there. Yeah, this is excluding references. So of course, some people intentionally add a lot of references to increase the word length, but that's not what we are doing here. So someone asked me before the class that what is the meaning of Thai? So I'm in China and I like the Chinese language. So Thai from the Chinese language has a lot of meanings. It could be a measure word. It could mean a lot of things. So yes, here it also means a lot of things. But it's basically the title, the abstract, and the introduction of your paper. So that's why we are here. However, we write the full paper, but the focus is on the title, the abstract, and the introduction. So that's where the T comes from. T for title, A for abstract, and I for introduction. There's not so much about that particular acronym. Okay, so first of all, every paper has a title. And for some of the suggestions I got, so we start with New Life suggestion, which was Urban Railway Transit Performance Assessment and Optimization, right? Okay. So such a title, I would say it's good. It's good. We are all here to learn, right? So as much as possible, there'll be some critique going on. The title is very good. However, let's look at how best we can make it better, okay? So for anyone trying to get a title, I'm splitting my screen so that we can go simultaneously, okay? So the paper or the title, from the title, I should be able to tell the issue of the paper. So just reading urban rail transit performance assessment and optimization. The first question that I will ask is where? That's my first question. Where are we assessing the performance of the railway transit system? Is it in China? Is it in Africa? Perhaps it's a more general paper. So I'm just making assumptions from this particular title. So after a few assumptions, I'll ask New Life if what she's trying to do is what I've said. If we are not on the same page, then there's a problem somewhere, right? Good. So urban rail transit performance assessment. So when I think of railway system, because I'm African and I'm used to a railway system that is above ground, I would think of only that system, right? Until I traveled to China where I saw there's a subway system, right? So when you say road transit performance, the only thing that comes to mind is, okay, you're only looking at the performance of the railway system above ground. Perhaps I'm wrong, but that's the only thing I get from the title. Okay, so there's going to be some assessment of the performance. So I would want to see things like some parameters that you are measuring or you are simulating, and you are using that as a form of assessing the performance of that particular system. To a layman, okay, the performance of a system, a railway system, is that it can take more people, or the scheduling of the railway system is quite efficient. Okay, that's to a layman, not a scientist. A scientist will want to look at things like shear, wear, tear, and all that. But to a very layman, who may pick up your paper to read and see this title and think, okay, so you are looking at numbers in terms of how many people can the railway system take in 24 hours and how best I can optimize it. Okay, maybe I can use some machine learning to look at the traffic or analyze the traffic within several hours of the day. Okay, so new life. Sorry to come back to you on this, but this is the topic.
Yeah,
Have I said something that is on point? Have I said something that is off the point? And
it's point the point.
everything is in your paper.
Yes.
Wow, I'm a magician. No, that should not be so. Okay, so at which point exactly do you want to focus on? Are you looking at it from the layman perspective or from the scientific perspective?
From scientific perspective, and the study had a case study of in East Africa.
Oh, in East Africa. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, where is the first thing I would want to see in your title, and that should be there. Okay, so if in East Africa, then we should see in East Africa in your title. If it's
Yeah.
if it's perhaps the road transit performance or road transit or urban road transit, it's a term that is used in your field. But like I said, I want to see maybe above ground, below ground, something like that. I'm not someone from your field, but to me, that's what I would want to see in a title like that. And then I'll know that this particular paper is narrowed in terms of the scientific perspective and not from the layman's perspective. Okay. So the title should address the main issue of the paper. If I read a title, I should decide as a researcher whether to read your title, read the paper or not. Okay. And we as people who are learning how to write papers should also be able to have this skill so that we can help others who will use our papers as a review. Okay. So, New Life, would you want to reform your title with what I've just said? Would you want to reform your title? I hope you can see my
I'm
document.
sorry, pardon, I'm sorry.
Would you want to refine it based on the feedback I've given?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, it's just for learning purposes. So what would you want to add or what would you want to change from the title?
Like the performance of assessment URT and optimization, the case of East Africa. Okay.
In East Africa? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something else you can
In the
add?
case of yeah, East Africa.
So let me see if I can write this. Urban Railway Transit Performance Assessment, a case study in East Africa, maybe, or a case study in something. Okay, so that's just some way we can also fine-tune our title. Okay, so the title should be able to address the main issue of the paper. If we cannot find that in the title, then we don't know what you are trying to say. Okay, some people also use the keyword strategy. Okay, so from just this title, if I want keywords for literature, then I would have things like urban transportation as one of my keywords. I'll have the railway technology, maybe. I'll have case study that's quite general, but maybe I'll have performance and maybe optimization. Okay, so if I should do the keyword search using either Scopus or any of the databases with this, the feedback that should come should tailor or as much as possible be as close to what we want as possible, East Africa maybe. Okay, so I'll not spend much time on the keyword search, but some people use the keywords to get a title. Some people also use the title to get a keyword. So you can also have that in mind. There should not be abbreviations in our title as much as possible. Because for example, if I take, let's say, I'm doing a topic study of, let's say, HIV in Africa. Okay. HIV is quite known, but let me create another name for HIV. Let's say Henom uh, international vacation. Okay, that's what I know HIV to be. Perhaps in my field of study, HIV means Henom International Vacation. And that's not what the paper is about. Okay, so as much as possible, there are general standardized abbreviation that has one meaning to everybody, like HIV, of course. But as much as possible, let's not add abbreviations to our title. Okay. The title should be creative and attractive. So when someone reads it, like, okay, I want to see what's going on there. Okay, so as much as possible, we want to refine this title again to make it creative and attractive. How do we do that? Urban Rail Transit Performance Assessment and Optimization, a case study, East Africa. Is there anyone who wants to give us suggestions? Because I'm sharing my screen, I cannot read the comments. So if someone will do me the favor to read the chat box pertaining to what I'm just saying, or if there's a question I've asked, will help me. Okay, is there anyone who would want to creatively change the topic so that when you read it, it's catchy? Let me see if on my phone I can access that. Anyone want to help us? No one. Okay. Our topic should be 10 to 15 words long, right? As much as possible, it should not be so many words. That will help us. And also in terms of when somebody is looking for the paper, it's very easy to get that particular paper or access it. So as short as possible, but it's also concise and creative or very attractive to people who want to access that particular paper. It indicates the research type or methodology. Okay, so in this particular instance, do we know what type of methodology that New Life is using? We cannot see that from the paper or the title, excuse me, the title. Am I right? New Life.
Yeah,
We don't know the research type or methodology you are using. We see case study.
I know.
Yeah. So
Topsis.
come again.
Topsi. Topsis.
POPSI. Like this?
S.
Like
No,
this.
T.
Like
Not P, the first word. The first word.
Topsis, right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
T.
So what does
Then the
this mean?
right is, yeah, S also.
What is this about?
S.
Another S. Okay.
Topsis. Sis. Yes.
Can you tell me what the topic is about? What actually that is?
It's the method to evaluate the assessment.
Oh, okay. So urban road transit performance assessment and optimization. Where do we put the TOPSIS? Where would you want to put it?
Um,
Have I asked a very difficult question? Remember, we are also supposed to avoid abbreviations, unless that is the name of the method. So let me see. Etopsis performance or etopsis assessment. Or optimization of urban rail transit performance, a case study in Africa. Or someone would say, perhaps urban rail transit performance assessment and optimization, or a case study of urban railway transit performance and optimization in East Africa from a thesis perspective. I don't know. Yeah, so something like that, so that we know exactly what kind of research methodology type you are using, or what tools or what software or what protocols you're actually using. So it depends on the research that you are doing. But for most of them, there's always going to be assessing methodology that you could include in the title, so that as much as possible, when there's a search, that particular thesis, because it's very popular, it also helps your paper to come up. And then, of course, people can cite your work in future. Your title should be defined to a tailored or defined audience, right? As much as possible. If someone is from another field, they may get the whole idea, but because I don't know what TOPSIS is, I'm kind of struggling with this. But for someone who is in that field, once they see TOPSIS, they can quickly pick up the paper and they are good to go. You should avoid jargons as much as possible. Okay, so to prevent doubt or confusion, what do you actually mean? What is that particular word in the title meaning? Okay, the title should reflect the findings or contribution of the paper. The title should reflect the findings or contribution of the paper. In this case, what exactly did you develop? What exactly did you find? Novelty and all the things that they like to say. But in this case, it does not reflect that. But I think if we take a different topic, we should be able to look at how that particular topic should reflect what you found, okay? Sometimes we have the topic before we start the paper, but sometimes you finish the paper and you have to look for the topic. I think the second one is the best, because you don't need a topic to actually start your research. You may need some keywords, but the topic could be done or refined at the latter stage. So you could refine the topic at the end of the writing, where you are done with your first manuscript and you know what you have actually done. You have some results, you've done the interpretation, and then you can put in somewhere, let's say, a novel approach, or what somebody will say, an updated model, or yeah, something that should give an idea of what you contributed in that paper. Yeah. So you should try and use title case or sentence case. Okay, so let's look whether I used that or I've deviated from that. Okay, so as much as possible, you can do capitalize each word, the starting of each word. That's also okay. But for most journals, you can use the sentence case or the title case perspective or formatting. When I say sentence case, it means the first letter is a capital letter. If there's a particular word in there that is capitalized, for example, TOPSIS could be capitalized because it's something very popular, but the rest of the words should all be in small letters or lowercase. Of course, some prepositions like for and to, of should also be in small letters. This is basic grammar, and you could read much about that. I will not spend time about that, but it should follow the format also of the journal you are trying to submit, or if it's a thesis, according to the rules of your university. Once you are done with the title, you can also try and look for that title. So let's try and look for new lifestyles and see if we can get something online and if it's quite similar or not. Okay. It's a lot on my screen now. Okay. Okay, so a quick search, using entropy ptosis method to evaluate. Okay, so the word ptosis is bringing out that kind of search. Okay, so if you add ptosis to your title, it may help boost up your citations or in search engine optimization. Okay, so we have urban public transport priority performance. Okay, so that could help us refine our topic. Comprehensive evaluation of urban road transit operation. That's also good. So apart from TOPSIS, there's performance, there's no assessment here. But at least we have a fair idea that our topic is doing well, right? Yeah. So perhaps this should be our topic. Any questions now? Any questions? I'll break here. Any questions? If you are familiar with this class, you know I always ask questions. Any questions so far? Maybe I'll take a second topic and then we'll move on to the next aspect. Any questions so far on writing the title of a paper? Any questions so far? Is the methodology in the title a general rule? No, it's not a general rule. However, like I said, it's for the purposes of, just like you saw in the feedback of the search, if there's a methodology inside the title, it helps to come up easily because it is an established methodology, not something that you are bringing. So once you do that, it helps your paper to be easily visible. Of course, you don't need to always put, in some cases, it may not apply that you have to put the methodology in there. But if it can go there, then let it be there. If not, then you can scrap that out. It's not a general rule. Any other questions? I can't keep reading, and so if you can unmute or someone can help me, that would be very good. Or I'll just assume there are no questions and I'll flow. I can't go in between, switch back and forth. So if someone could help me read out the questions, that will help me. Okay, so there's no questions, I assume, right?
Just a question.
All right, go ahead.
So, would you still follow these procedures for a review paper? Because for like a review paper, you technically aren't doing like a new methodology or have results that you want to present like that. So, of course, you're telling me what other people have done, and also, would you still follow these same processes for a review paper?
So for a review paper, it's even more easy because there's a structure for the title of a review paper. So a review paper on addressing the main issue. So a review paper on the urban rail system performance. Of course, in that case, TOPSIS may not come in because you may use multiple methodologies. So I'm addressing the main issue of the paper. So a review paper on urban rail system in East Africa. Yeah, I think that's it. So a review paper should have a review paper on, or a review on, for a review may not have all these checklists, yes, but it's even much simpler to have the title for a review paper, depending on the methodology that you are using, even to analyze the review. Okay, so if you are doing a systematic review, then in that case, you are using a certain methodology, right? Or protocol to review the papers. So that could come in your title. If not, then what kind of research area are you researching on? That will come also in the title. And you will not have contributions in there, and their methodology may vary, so it may not essentially be in the title, but pretty much it's also similar like this. Any other question? We tried one more example. Okay, so I would look at Hansen, investigating the economic feasibility of using recycled materials in construction projects. Okay, so I'll go back to my Word. Where is that title? Okay, this one. Okay, so let me make the screen bigger. Technology. Anyway. Okay, so let me not delete it. Let me keep it there. Topic 2, investigating the economic feasibility of using recycled materials in construction projects. The first taboo word is investigating. Everyone uses this word. Even some journals that I submit to, they clearly say don't put investigating in your title because they are tired of seeing it. So yeah, that's just by the way. There are some words that have been overly used in title: investigating, probing, analyzing, exploring, which other one? Okay, offhand, I cannot remember everything, but yeah. So what are you investigating? And well, so this came from Hansen. Hansen, I think you've listened to me for about 5 minutes. So let's try and reform or restructure your, okay, no. First, I have to give my analysis. Okay, so economic feasibility of using recycled materials. Okay, so perhaps recycled materials are maybe easy to come by, which I doubt, but we want to see if we should use that for construction projects, whether it will be cheaper or not. Do I get a picture or I'm wrong, Mr. or Miss Hansen? I'm not sure whether it's a he or she.
Yes, sir. That's the goal.
Okay, all right. So that ends there for me. I don't read your paper because I can tell what you want to say. I don't need to read your paper because I get the gist of the paper just from the title. So let's try and rephrase your paper title so that you attract me into reading the paper. So how would you do that? Can you help me? I'm not saying what you are doing is wrong, but I'm saying if I can predict, it's less like I'm not against anyone, but it's just like a Nigerian movie. When you see the first 2 scenes, you can know the end of this movie. Yeah. So that's not what we want to do in our research work. Okay. As much as possible, we want people to read our paper and also be drawn to it. So what would you want us to do? Can you tell me more about the research? Maybe that will give me an idea so that I can suggest something, or we try and refine the topic.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so honestly, I just did this topic because you wanted like other topics that you could use as examples to like help us understand what you're teaching. Yeah, so it's not something I'm working on, it's just a topic I gave so that you could use as an example to like explain better. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
if I was to write this paper, I'll look at the title, Economic Feasibility. So perhaps I'm looking at it from the economic standpoint as an economic student, or I'm looking at it from the aspect of a construction engineer, right? So construction projects, which kind of projects? Perhaps maybe low budget construction projects or prefab projects. So maybe not only because there's recycling there, I must look at some sustainability also. So perhaps sustainability can come inside my topic. aside the economic feasibility, because perhaps it may be cheap, but also very, very dangerous to the environment. And that's where your topic may be flawed, because although you give us a cheaper alternative, it brings an issue of safety or environmental pollution. So I can combine economics with safety in the environment in low budget. I don't know if there's something like that, but I'm just saying low budget low budget housing for rural areas. Okay. Sustainability and economic feasibility approach. Maybe this could be my title. Yeah. So depending on what you want to do, you could, as much as possible, give more information on what you want to do. So low budget housing in rural areas or for rural areas, sustainability, and forgive my typos, an economic feasibility approach. Okay, so your topic or your title, we don't put a lot of thinking into it, but it really says a lot about your paper. Okay, so let's try and find out what is going on the web about this same topic, right? So, construction technologies and materials for sustainable. Okay, so sustainable is bringing the crowd. Low cost, okay, it's also bringing the crowd. Economic, also bringing the crowd. Low cost again, sustainability also again. Recycled building materials, good. Yeah, bamboo as a sustainable. Wow, so here they just give a specific when I see bamboo, okay, so how can I use bamboo? This is something that will attract me, because I know bamboo is like just to play a flute or something, but now it can be used for building materials, okay? Then of course it might be more cheaper. And they're also talking about sustainability. So, well, that will attract me to download this paper, right? So the title should give us some encouragement to download your paper. Okay, I will not take another title. I think this explains the concept very clearly, right? Okay. So we'll move on to the next aspect of our paper, which is the author list. Okay, so the author list sometimes brings a lot of confusion, but let's see, I'll try and download this paper and use that as an example. I don't know this paper from anywhere. It's just the bamboo that is attracting me. Okay, so.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
So please, before we move on to the next session, in regards with the title here, I'm looking on like working on a certain topic, but everything you are saying is in this topic. It's very, how do I say it? Literally everything you are saying. Can I read out a topic, then you can listen
so
to the
I'll
topic?
try my prediction magic. Okay.
Okay. The topic is assessing the nutritional status, dietary habits.
The nutritional
status.
How do you spell nutrition? Sorry. Nutritional status.
Yeah. Dietary habits.
Dietary habits.
And physical activity levels.
And physical activity levels.
Of international students in China.
Activity, that's very activity levels of international
students
in China. Wow.
In China.
Interesting topic. Okay. How are you
It's
assessing
quite
it?
predictable,
Yeah, it's presentable, but the first question is how are you
as in
assessing it? Okay,
with a
good. The nutritional status. Nutritional.
yes,
Nutritional. This is not how to spell nutritional. Please, guys, someone help me.
yes, please, that's not
Nutritional.
NUTRI.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So assessing the nutritional status, dietary habits, and physical activity levels of, okay, so immediately I see this topic, I know you do a survey, right or wrong?
Yeah,
All right,
right.
good. So it means I'm on point. What else can I say about this topic?
Is it too predictable? That's what I want to know. Is it like you cannot tell?
No, it's not so predictable, but it's intriguing to see such a topic. However, the word assessing, it's the only thing giving it a minus. So if you could tell us how you are assessing it, then that will make it perfect, right? So a case study to assess the nutritional status,
Okay.
a survey to assess the nutritional status. What again? I don't know. What else can be used to assess? Or perhaps you already have the data, so you are using some models to further assess the data, right? So
no, I don't. I'm going to.
so,
It's going to be permanent.
yeah. So you can tell us what you are using to assess, and that could make it very complete. But I want to see the results of such a study. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other question before we move on to the other list? So the other list of the paper I downloaded is not a good example. So let me look for another paper that I already have. So I'll pause for a moment and quickly get a paper.
Yeah, Dr. Frederick.
Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, it's me, Paul. Oh.
Okay, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I think you made mention of a very key point that I think is worth noting. That having a topic before starting your research is okay, but then it would be advisable that you get a topic at the end of the paper, because I started working on a paper and I realized that the topic that I even had before working on the paper, before I would get to data analysis, it was a different output than the topic that I had in mind. And there are instances where I've seen papers actually come up with the topic based on the data that they had.
Yes.
So there was a qualitative study that I saw in I'm in the entrepreneurship field, entrepreneurship theory. That is a grade A or Q1 paper. And actually it was a line that one of the interviewees used that became the topic of that particular paper. Yeah. So it means that person right from the start go didn't have any topic, but then had maybe variables in mind. But then along the line, collecting data, got a line that was really interesting. Okay, you could read certain papers and then you see that there are some topics in quotes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that the person actually got that particular research topic from the data that was being analyzed, and not having a research topic by starting that particular paper. There are also other instances where, in order to, and this is my question, I think if you may be able to help us, in order to make the topic quite interesting, because people are so much drawn by the topics than even going to read the abstract. Yes. Once they read the topic and they feel like this paper is really interesting, and they would want to go ahead and then read. There has been aspects that would use certain phrases that are so interesting. Forgive me, I sent you one topic that says that bad leadership turns good employees into enemies. A test of a moderated mediation model. That particular quote wasn't something that I had from the data that I was analyzing.
Yeah.
But then what I did was that I wanted to look at, by way of reading that particular topic, you wouldn't be able to tell what exactly I'm doing. Yes. So you may want to probe further and go into it and then see that, oh, these are the variables that I was even talking about. These are the independent variables. These are the dependent variables. So there are some fine ways that we may, as researchers, we may come up with some interesting. And what I did was that I had to just go online, put in my variables, and then look at synonyms that could classify. So I was looking at public leadership. I was looking at turnover intention. I was looking at organizational trust. And I was looking at organizational tenure. And then I coined the topic that bad leadership turns good employees into enemies. This is something that no paper has actually written about, or maybe the topic is in the space. It's just something that is really a good way to go about, especially making the topics very interesting for readers. If you can help us on that.
I would have said good leaders turn bad servants. The comparative study of blah, blah, blah. That's how I would have titled that paper. But that's just by the way. Yeah, so it's very, very important. Okay. Perhaps not to attack anyone again, but because we are so academic, we don't really tend to add creativity to our work. But if you should follow a lot of papers that are channeled from the very, very big journals like Nature, you realize that the topic doesn't really match what is going on in the paper most of the time, but it's something that's so catchy. Okay, so drive to the moon full on water or fully powered by water. That's the topic for the paper. So I'll ask, how can I drive to the moon fully powered by water? But when you're going down there, you realize, okay, there was some hydrolysis or electrolysis done to break down that water into hydrogen. Of course, we all know hydrogen can power us. So it's not even about the water, it's about the hydrogen. So it's very, very important. It's not only about the search engine optimization, but yeah, you see so many technical things, and then you see, I saw bamboo when I downloaded the paper. I don't even know the guy. So we should have ways of making our title very creative. However, I'll give a disclaimer. We should not overdo it, because I have had a situation where I submitted a paper. I was not there when the reviewer started reviewing my paper, but in the conclusion, he said I misled him. In one of the reviews, I misled him because the title and the work were not matching. But I was happy when I saw such a comment, although that paper was rejected. I was happy because I knew, yeah, I had done my work well, okay, just by the topic. So it's very, very important that yes, the abstract is the trailer of the movie. But if the title of the movie is also not nice, you'll not even click that trailer, right? So the title of the movie, in this case, our title of the paper or thesis, should be very, very catchy. And of course, have enough information such that you can lead the person on to predict wrongly. So they realize that, so after reading the paper, what I thought was the issue was not what they are trying to say. And then they will always remember your paper, because if you can predict the movie from start to finish, you even forget the title. But if there's a scene that changes the plot of the movie, you always remember. Even if you forget the title, you always remember that particular plot. And that's how you can also avoid some rejections. And then, because when I'm reading as a reviewer and I get to a point where there's a plot twist, I can put in a comment there that will even further advance the paper. But if it's so, it's well written, but it's so flat, the story is so flat, then that's where they end up picking up on you and say that you left a full stop, you left a comma, those very weird, and that's why your paper was rejected. There's no review. It was just a grammatical thing that Grammarly or any other word checker, spell checker could have done for you, but your work went for review for over 2 or 3 months. So as much as possible, even if they comment on your title, you know you did a good job, even if it was rejected, the next journal you submit to, you know that you have done at least 1% thing right? So our title should be on point and as very catchy as possible, but we should not overdo it, okay, and mislead people. Okay, so I think that's enough for title. And there's no part of the paper that should be written first. There's no rule like that, okay? So maybe I could ask, which one should be written first? Someone will say conclusion. Someone will say methodology, but it depends on the situation, okay? But ideally, I write my literature review last. Okay, and people ask you how, but yeah, that's how I do it, and I can show you how. But I do my literature review last, a type of literature review last, okay? But I also do a pre-literature review where, of course, I've shown you that one in the previous classes. You can do that. That can give you your tables, your annotated and everything, and it's there as a skeleton. But based on the results you have, based on the methodology you use, you have to review something based on that. You can't tell me about water when you are talking about hydrogen. Okay, so your review should connect with the methodology and the results. But you do the results later, so your review should be written after the results, right? So that's an example. Because it follows a certain order, it doesn't mean that it should be written in that order. The title could be last. Even your title that you, after accepting the paper, okay, or let's say before the paper is accepted, your title could change. Even if the paper has been submitted and published online, people always go back and do corrections. So anything can change. There's nothing static on your paper. Everything and anything can change. So you should be very flexible that the topic can change as much as every other thing. Okay, so the next part, which is the author list. Okay, so who wrote the paper? And of course, I know in a system where perish or publish, or publish or perish. I got the perish first because a lot of people are perishing and not publishing. So you publish or you perish. People gift papers as gift authorship. That's okay by you. But my personal feeling, when I see more than 5 authors on a paper, I'm like, something wrong is going on here. Okay, so I can predict, okay, there's the guy here who paid for the paper to be published. There's a guy who actually did the work. And there's a guy who knows nothing about the work. Only got notification, the paper has been accepted. Yeah, but that may not always be the case. So what I would just advise is that if the paper is coming from one lab, one research facility, okay, then it should not be more than 5 people on the paper. Even 4 is okay. The one who did the work, main guy, maybe you have a backup guy, your sidekick, and then you have your supervisor who also brought a certain supervisor, and that's done. 4. You should have only 4 people on the paper. Okay, but if there's a collaboration, okay, between one group and another group, maybe 8 is okay, or 6 is enough, right? So about author list, well, I cannot judge because I'm not the one paying for paper to publish. So some things like can be there, or you can try to share and collaborate with other people as much as possible. That's what research is about. We need to collaborate, but be careful on the number of artists you put on the paper. If I'm an editor in the near future and I see a paper with 6 artists, all coming from the same lab, I'm telling you how I'll feel. There's a high tendency I'll reject that paper. Not because I've looked at the paper, just from the author list. I may be wrong, but that's my personal feeling, and I'm the one having the power that day. Sorry for you. Yeah, so we should be very, very careful when we are also looking at the author list, okay? There should be someone who is doing data in there, right? Someone who wrote the draft, I understand. Someone who perhaps did some supervision and spell check. That's all. We shouldn't have any ghosts coming in there, okay? We don't want to pay people who are not working. Okay, so depending on the type of journal, some people use alphabetical order, okay? So they assume that everybody there did equal job. So you can use alphabetical order. So if you are X and Y, your name will come last. Or you are Z, your name will come last. Okay, but if you have A or B, your name will be first. It may look like you are the first author, but perhaps you just held one spanner to open the something. Yeah, that's that. But generally, we don't do that. Okay, so the first name you see on the paper is the one we call the first author or the principal author. He did 90% of the job. He knows the job in and out, or let me say, he should know the job in and out. The second name you see there, perhaps they did the work equally, so we call that person the second author. or the co-author, okay? That's someone who helped him. Perhaps one guy did the data collection, the other person did analysis. So in your field, or looking at the resources that were used in getting that paper, who did more work? The first person will come, the second person will come. It's just like a race, okay? Then all those in between, we don't care about them, okay? And then we also look at the end. Let's say the last two. The last two, of course, the last person is the one who is called the corresponding author. Maybe the big boss of the lab, he actually submitted a paper. He actually had all the correspondence between the journal and him. Even though it was someone who did the work, he was the one who submitted the work. He created the account and it was submitted through him and all that. In the near future, if let's say the PhD student or the master student leaves that lab and someone wants some data or feedback from that particular paper, they can always go to the corresponding author and ask, okay, I need this data. And hopefully the corresponding author should have a contact or network with that first author, and whatever issue, they can still resolve it, okay? And yeah, so I'm using my supervisor here. I'll not show you which of them is my supervisor, but my supervisor is somewhere in here. Okay, so the first author is Liang. The second author or the co-author is Tao. And then we have Li, another Li, we have her, we have Bai, we have Wang, and we have another Li. So there are so many Lis in this paper. So we know that the big guy here should be the Li guy here. Okay, if it's not him, then it means this other list was not done well. Okay, and this is the first author, this is the co-author. Perhaps this guy is also very important. If they are from the same lab, then maybe a professor and associate professor or something like that. Okay. So how do we know the differences, whether they are from the same lab? So some journals use alphabets like A. So anybody having A means they are from one place. Anybody having B means they are from another place. And anybody having C means they are from another place. Okay, so if you are A, you are from Taiwan in this case. If you are B, you are from Xi'an. And also if you are from C, you are from Suzhou. We could have one author coming from or affiliated to more than one place. So you see A, B, C by the name. Okay, and in some journals, they also use 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. It's just to show that something. Also, some other people use different symbols. Okay, we also have some stars here. The star is telling you that the person is a corresponding author, right? That's what it means. So it means if you need help, just email that person, because that person's email will be published somewhere in the paper. Yeah, here we have Yang Li, and then we have all the people that have the stars. Email will be there. So if in case you need something, you can ask them. So I'm assuming that Liang is perhaps a professor from Taiwan. Wang is also another professor from where? Xi'an. Oh, no. Li is from Xi'an and Wang is from Suzhou. So perhaps these are professors and they came together and did the work, right? So this is how your author list should look like. It could be friends and family, but we should see some order in there and who to contact in future study. Any questions on author list? Let's not waste too much time on it. And also, let me put it out there. If someone helps you to pay for the paper, that's their contribution to the paper. It's okay. It's allowed. It's not non-ethical. It's ethical. Because without their help, you could also not publish the paper. But aside that, any other gimmicks is your own issue. And it's very non-ethical. A few questions and then we move on.
Yeah. Hello, sorry. This Paul. I got a bit confused on the aspects of the arrangement. For all this while I was thinking that the corresponding author is always the first person on the paper and the other authors coming. You are just telling us that it is not so. Is it that it is not always so, or it is not done that way? Because I had a paper with a professor of mine in Ghana, and when it came to us sending that particular journal to a journal, sending a particular paper to a journal, he made me the corresponding author. In that case, does it mean that if the paper is published, my name comes first or his comes? Which is which?
Okay, so the general rule is what I just explained, right? But of course, there are different situations. If you, perhaps PhD students, are the corresponding author, it means you are the one who is going to sign up in the account of the journal, create the account, submit the paper. So in that case, you are doubling as the first author, your name will come first, and the corresponding author. Corresponding authors are always supposed to come last, except when the person is both first and corresponding. That's the general rule. If your name is first, you are the first author, whether you're a corresponding author or not. Then, so if you are first author and corresponding author, your name will be, let's say, Nkrumah A, and then the stars will come. But if you are not the corresponding author, you are still the first author, your name will be Nkrumah and then A without the star. The star is just to show that you are corresponding. So if anything, corresponding does not give any other addition to your value, as it just shows that if we need something in the future, correspondence, you are the one who can go through an email and ask questions, right? But first author is first author. If you are first author and your name comes last, you are the last author. You are not the first author. Why should we be so aggressive on the first author? So if I want to quote this paper in the future, I'll say Liang et al. Liang et al. Because he's the first author. We always name the paper after the first author. So if you are the first author and you allow yourself to be bullied, which always happens, because maybe your professor is an associate professor, so he wants to go up the ranks. You did all the work, but you are either second author or not. Don't allow that. Well, if you can't do anything about that, that's unfortunate. But the paper will not be referenced to Nkrumah. It will now be Liang et al. When it was Nkrumah that did the work. So if you know you are the one who did the work, your name must appear first. If you have the extra work of doing the correspondence, then you just have a star on your name. Okay, so a typical scenario is PhD student is the first author. Okay, another PhD student is the co-author. Master students come in between. Maybe some technician in the lab also come in between. And towards the end, you see the associate professor and then the professor. So it's increasing importance. First, second, those in between are just there, and then towards the end. So the first and the last are the most important. Why is the last important? Because he's the corresponding, and we assume that perhaps that's the professor in there, okay, or the person who has more. Those people usually just write, supervise the work, funded the work. Yeah, those are the things. Yeah, but you could have a professor also being a first author. In that case, maybe he wants promotion to become a higher something. But aside that, once you are beyond postdoc, I don't know why you should be fighting for first author, because you don't need it. First author is PhD, master's, good. But once you go and sometimes postdoc, but even when you start doing your postdoctoral, you should be aiming towards corresponding, because no one cares about you anymore. We want to see that you're a good teacher. So if you're a good teacher, then you are doing more supervision. And if you are doing more supervision, then allow your juniors to publish. Your juniors, which are your PhDs and masters, should be the first author, and you will be the corresponding author. So if a teacher is a corresponding author, I give much more respect to him than when I see him being a first author. In this case, he's a supervisor and he's also a first author. It means he's an associate professor and fighting for position. If not that, and he's a professor, a full professor, and he's still being the first author, then that's academic greed. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Any other question on Catalyst? No question. Okay, I'm getting used to the silence, so no problem. So the next one is, let me see if I have something else to talk about. Catalyst. Yeah, I think that's all. Okay, you can also tell us your conflict of interest. Okay, so in some papers, you see the conflict of interest at last. Okay, so let's say I'm a professor working in Google at the same time I'm working for MIT. Okay, so I have to state that conflict of interest. that the work I'm doing is for Google or is for MIT, or I'm stating my interest in terms of the fact that I am separating myself from Google at that moment of publication, even though I state Google in my address. So sometimes conflict of interest may come, or during the process, one person had a stance with one of the results, the other person had a stance with another result, but the paper must be published. But we have to let us know that, okay, this particular guy believes in this result and does not believe in this one, but we have still published the two. So you can also state those conflicts, because as researchers, we should have that conflict, right? And that's what makes us also researchers, because you must not always agree. You must agree to disagree. And in that case, you must state that conflict, so that in the near future, if something you guys created, there's a problem, you know that, okay, I declared myself that I didn't support that part of the work. So please ask the other guy, right? That's a very nice way of carving out yourself from the problem. So this may be on sensitive issues like military and other security issues, but aside that, everything else is okay. And you can just say there's no conflict of interest between any of the artists, and we have published a paper. So that's just to add on. Okay, for keywords, 5 to 6 words usually enough. You can consult recent literature for examples. It should be very unique to the title and the general idea, like I just illustrated earlier. It should be consistent with the title and abstract. Okay, don't just put keywords there because you need keywords. No, you should find a link between the keywords, the title, and the abstract. Everything is in sync. Avoid keywords that have more than 2 words. Okay, because sometimes we don't know whether it's together or they are different words. So just 2 words is okay, but don't give keyword that is more than 2. Avoid generic keywords, right? Yeah, I've already said that. Your keyword should help us find you. Yes. If the paper is there, let us find you. And I said, help us find you. You are here too. Yeah. You can test some of the keywords in the databases. We've done this in our previous lecture, so I'll not go through that. Field specific terminologies, yeah, as much as possible. Like thesis. I don't know about thesis because it's not my field, but thesis should be your keyword if that is in your field. I can also incorporate future trends. Okay, so just drop it there, even though you didn't do it. So if your work has something like AI, just put AI there so that anybody who Googles AI, your paper can come up. Machine learning, just put it there. Anything futuristic in your field, and then maybe in your conclusion part, you can just say 1 sentence about AI and you are good to go. It is telling you with your keyword. Okay, so this is just to help your paper also be current and never fade away, right? Yeah, so this is just one trick also for keywords. Any question? Any question on keywords?
Yes, maybe just a confirmation, if I may ask. Are these keywords to be in alphabetical order?
Not exactly, no, they should not be. It should be in order of importance.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so for your case to be good leadership, bad something. So in order of importance, which one? And then of course the last one I can put is something futuristic. If you don't know what to put in there. Yeah, order of importance, not necessarily alphabetical order. Okay, no question now. Assume. Let's go to the abstract. So the abstract is the trailer of the movie. When it should have everything in the paper, but not everything. So we should have a fair idea after reading the title, the keyword, the abstract. We should have what is going on, and kind of we are trying to draw the person in little by little, right? Usually between 100 and 300, depending on the journal, they have specific word limit. And if it's for a thesis, it could go up to 500 words, depending on the school. But I just say it's 1% of the total word count. So maybe you can do some rough mathematics and then look at that. But don't just copy some abstract from somebody's paper and kind of put in your way, or in your own. You realize some people's abstract, you can find the abstract inside some introduction somewhere. So they copied one part of the introduction they copied one part of the methodology, they copied one part of the, which part? The literature, they copied one part of the, and that's the abstract. No, 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 no. That's how a trailer is of a movie, but here it doesn't work that way, right? You should not just copy parts of your paper, and so after you finish writing everything, then you just copy, okay, this one is like the summary of this part, I put it there. No, 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 no. You should not do that. So I'll show you how to do and write the abstract, okay? Also put your audience in mind, okay? So catchy sentences, very strong statement that they'll be like, how can you say that? But you can say that. Yeah, you put it there in your abstract so that they are triggered to read more on the paper. You can add some statistics, but not so much, okay? Because you want them to read. Don't give them everything in the abstract, okay? You can also summarize some parts and then put it inside the abstract. But like I said, it should not be entirely word to word put in the abstract. Make your abstract easily searchable. So the words that the keywords, some of them can be in the abstract, okay? Because in some, like we did last time, if you're using Scopus, then we use the title abstract, right, to download the paper or to download the first round of search. So the title has some keyword, the keyword on its own, and then inside the abstract also there's some keyword. So no matter how if they Google that keyword, it will show from the title, from the abstract, and even from the keyword. So your paper will still show up in 3 cases of search. And that also lets your paper always buoyant and people can find it. The paper should flow, or the abstract should flow, okay? The first sentence should transition to the second sentence, the third sentence, and like that. You should not have different things that disconnect. So you talk about something, there's something that follows, and then you go and continue what you were saying, the first sentence, and then the third sentence. No, it should flow in that logic story. Okay, let us see. So an example is, while the role of neuroplasticity has been best studied in vertebrates, few invertebrate systems have been evaluated. This is the first statement. So in order to evaluate the role of neuroplasticity, so you see the neuroplasticity is repeating twice, and then you move on. You can highlight some key findings and remember to proofread. Okay, so there are so many models, but I'll just give 4 of them, just 4. So let's try with the first model on the topic that was given first, right? Okay, so I'll split my screen again and then have the Word document. So we are writing the abstract of the first topic. Is new life still around? We are writing together. New life, are you still there? Or you've left us? Okay, new life is not here. Hansen, are you around? Hansen has also left us. Okay, anyone else wants to volunteer? So I will write the abstract based on the first model. When I say model, it means you can use this way to write your abstract. Anyone who is available and want to talk to me so that we write it together. I can see 23 people around, but nobody is speaking.
If you can maybe use
Okay,
the
sure.
topic I just gave for purposes.
Okay, so let's
So
assume we have a topic. What's the problem that you want to solve? In your case, let's say we already have your topic, but we want to solve it. So can you tell me the problem you are trying to solve?
Okay, so briefly, it has to do with how bad leadership influences employees' decision to either stay or leave the organization that they are in.
Okay, so recently I'm just thinking aloud, there has been a large exodus of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Okay, there has been a large exodus of employees, right? Or employers, which is which? I always get confused. Employee is the one working, right? Or employer is the one working. Employees in many institutional or from many institutional firms, right? This first at the first draft, so we don't care about so much. Recently, there has been a large exodus of employees in many institutional firms due to the rising English is it's not English. The rising okay, due to the incidence of bad governance, let's say corporate. Which one? This how to spell corporate. No, not this one. I think this is one. Corporate, this wrong, but corporate leadership and governance, right? Okay. Okay, so that's the problem. I hope I captured it somehow. Now, what is motivating you, or what is motivating you about this problem? What do you want to do about this problem? Not your solution, but what is motivating you about this problem?
The main motivation has to be with the fact that leadership essentially has a very high impact or a great impact on how employees behave. And then scholars have even mentioned that if you want to really identify problems that employees are facing or various facets of the organization not doing well, leadership is always supposed to come in play. And I believe that that has been most of the motivations of other scholars within the extant literature.
So I'm saying this has created a deficit in the connect between the leadership and the workforce. And has been the focus of, and workforce. Researchers within or researchers associated with leadership or good leadership have raised several concerns. Probing into the factors, something. I'm losing track, but anyway, the factors of good governance. Anyway, let's just keep it like that. So your study is hoping to do what? Solve this problem. How do you hope to solve this problem?
Good. So essentially what I am looking at is how the trust that employees have in the organization, one, plays a role in this particular issue or problem. And then again, how their tenure, how long they stayed or how short they stayed in the organization also impacts this direct relationship between toxic leadership and turnover intention. So two main variables. So these variables,
the issue of trust and politics of how long they stay. How can I say that? How long they stay in the work? How can I say that?
That's okay.
Is there a word for it or few phrases for that? Okay, you said turnover something, right?
Period, there could be duration.
Okay. So the analytics of the duration of stay, forgive the words, but this is just the first draft. So my first draft is that bad. Stay of employees in an organization, right? Okay. So what are the object? The solution is the study investigates actually that's the objective. Oh, so what are the solutions? Okay, so we can say that effective training and empowerment. Oh, if you don't know something, you don't know. Empowerment of leaders and workers alike could transform the work environment, right? So what I'm just trying to say is we believe that one solution is that when we train people and we empower the leaders, or both ways, we empower the workers or we train them, it will solve their problem. That's our solution, okay? Generally in the field, it's known by everybody, not your solution, okay? Then your solution will come to the objectives or what your objective is trying to do, which is to investigate the issue of trust and how long people stay in the organization, right? So this is what we have. Which method are you using to do this? Are you collecting some data? Are you analyzing some data? Are you interviewing people? Come again.
So it's a survey, qualitative.
Okay, so
did I say quantitative?
Using advanced or popular, whatever. If there's a particular one that you are using advanced, quantitative tools, we analyze such matrices, okay, or parameters. Those are the key results. And we realize that, which is our conclusion, right? Yes, okay, so there's a conclusion. We don't write to conclude that, so you make your conclusion and then what implications come from that conclusion? It's very difficult for me to write this. So can you write the conclusion for us? After using the advanced quantitative tools, what are some of the conclusions you can draw from a typical result you get?
The study hasn't been done, but I think I can say something. So
yeah.
After the analysis of the results, the study realized the authors realized that even though there is a negative relationship between, or there's a positive relationship between turnover and toxic leadership, organizational trust and organizational tenure has an influence in this particular relationship.
Hey,
in the sense that
you said.
oh yeah, right. Oh, you're typing. So let me just take it one after the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a positive relationship
in toxic leadership and employee turnover intention.
Employee turnover intention. Good.
However, their trust in the organization.
Their trust
in the organization, as well as their tenure or duration of stay plays an important role.
Okay, so the implication we could draw from this is to inform anyone that reads a study that if we do this kind of study, it can imply that this. Okay, so however, their trust in organization as well as their tenure plays an important role. That's not really a good implication, but let's just keep it like this, okay, for now. Let's see how many words we have. 127 words. Okay. This is just because I'm not in this field. I'm struggling to help you. But this is one way you can write your your first draft of an abstract. Okay, so the problem, the motivation, the solution, the objectives. Perhaps I may not like this model, so let's go to another model, model 2. Okay, I want to take from another person. Another person. Do you have a problem? Do you have a design methodology you are using? What findings do you have? Are there some limitations and challenges, and then your implications as well? Anyone can go. Another person, so that we have diverse abstracts. I hope nobody is typing because I said I cannot read. Let me just check my phone. Anyone else want to go? Help us write your... Okay, so using the title, I'm trying to use the title to get the abstract. Assessing and enhancing that, a model for East African urban transit, urban rail in Dar es Salaam, the future of that. Okay, so the problem is there's no railway. Let's assume so. Okay, so with increasing population, I'm just saying something. If I'm wrong, just pardon me. With increasing population growth in East Africa, the development of buildings in outskirts of city. I think this is everywhere, not East Africa, so I think I can be free on this one. The outskirts of cities have come to stay. There is therefore the need for efficient, reliable, and cost. Is it affordable? Affordable transportation for the populace, particularly in Kenya. I hope Kenya is in East Africa. Anyway, Dar es Salaam is which one? Tanzania, right? Hey, I didn't go for Tanzania. I didn't go for geography class. I hope I'm right. Dar es Salaam is in Tanzania, right?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you very much. Tanzania. Yeah, I didn't spell it. Tanzania. Hey, today my spelling. Tanzania. Okay, so this is the problem, right? In this study, oh no, I've not stated the railway, so I have to put in the railway somewhere. Railway technology over the last decade have promising results that show or that indicate it's as sustainable. These days, everybody says everything is sustainable. Cost-effective means of public transportation. In this study, we performance analysis and optimization plan. So what design methodology are you using? Are you also using survey or a model? So there's a model development, but I'm not sure what model it is. Can you help me? What methodology are you using the model is to analyze the performance, but I'm not so sure what the model is. Okay, so we developed a model that efficiently analyzes and optimizes the traffic congestion systems in urban Tanzania. We also do we estimate or we analyze or we measure? We also measure various performance. This is a very big story, so it's all fiction, but I hope something there can help somebody. We also measure various indices to further develop similar systems other parts of Africa. Limitations for the findings. So the findings is maybe you realize that in the scheduling system should be 15 minutes so that the traffic flow can the peak hours. Maybe that's not what you are doing. I know it's more scientific, but I'm just using this as an example. The peak hours of Dar es Salaam. Workforce between, let's say, 4 a.m. and 9 p.m. was would be less than 30 minutes after 8 a.m. and okay, 8 a.m., 12 noon, and 5 p.m., which is where lots of people close. We therefore, our model predicts, what am I missing? Our model predicts a 10 minutes scheduling system to efficiently handle the most easiest is okay. Something like this. Tell you the story. And then limitations and challenges. If it's not money, it's always about time. Whatever challenge do we face? The application of such model in, let's say, Francophone systems limits the applications in the application of such a model limits the use, in fact, limits the use in perhaps West Africa. I think that's where a lot of Francophone countries. So maybe your model works well and can be implemented in various systems, but once it comes to, I think Swahili they speak in Tanzania, right? Today, yeah. So if they can they move it to, it's built on a Swahili system. So when it comes to a French system, that's one of the challenges. Therefore, or because of Africa is not so connected well, so the railway system has to stop within Dar es Salaam, but maybe it can go to the closest city outside Dar es Salaam, or let's say outside Tanzania. That's also one challenge. So we need to, so therefore, there has to be policies, as if you're a policy guy, policies to implement effectively such models and systems in connected Africa. Sure, this one will be more than 100. So if I had said something in my field, perhaps I'll be able to talk and talk. But yeah, something like this also, it's just abstract on model 2. So just talk about the problem, what design we use as much as possible. You tell us more about that. What findings did you have? Limitations and then the implications, right? So, Honorable, I'm sure that maybe I've said something that is not related to your topic, but yeah, something like this. Okay, so the third model, okay, let's check how many words. 162, yeah. Okay, but a lot of it doesn't make sense. So the third model, we have the topic. So what's the topic about? Another person? Can we have another person giving us the... Okay. Let me see the other topic. Okay. I think that's all the topics I see. Anyone else? Or I can just move on. Okay, so there's a topic. You tell us what the topic's about, the existing work that has been done concerning that topic. Then you now state the problem. So I will go for topic model 3 because it looks like you have a lot of things to say in the abstract. So just give us the topic. So I'll just say mine since no one is talking. If you don't understand, sorry. So there has been a lot of incidences of fire outbreak caused by vehicles powered by lithium-ion batteries. There have been efforts by very large companies like BYD, Tesla to combat this problem of fire safety. So the existing work, perhaps cheaper and more sustainable flame retardants or fire systems have been developed over the last 5 years to combat this problem. However, there are not enough models to help us in predicting or synthesizing new materials for this particular situation. This paper gives a generalized skeletal model to predict the fire mechanism in such lithium-ion batteries using computational fluid dynamics and machine learning to aid engineers simulate the real fire scenario and also to, what can we do? Of course, you can go cheaper. So to give us cheaper ways, or if perhaps we can develop new synthetic materials that can be a substitute to even the lithium-ion batteries. We realized that using a stress test analysis, you should charge your battery only 2 hours. Finished, I'm done. Because it's my area, I can speak easily. Yeah, so, but I'll suggest model 3 because that gives you the topic, kind of, you give a general perspective, you give the existing work that are done, you give the problem before you now talk about the problem, because no one wants to always listen about problem. So you can give a background and that could give you several words before you even start the... Can you share the recording later? Yes, I will. Yeah, so that's for abstract model 3. So here with model 4, I'll give you some examples and you tell me which part of the abstract or which part of the abstract is what? Is it the problem? Is it the, yeah. Okay, so let me not talk plenty. So let me see how best I can hide the answers. Okay, so if you can see my screen clearly, this is an example. So this is an example of an abstract that is published already in 2018. So can you tell me where the introduction and problem is? Anyone can unmute your mic and you tell me where the introduction starts and ends. Where is the introduction of the abstract in this particular example? Hopefully you can all see my screen clearly. Where is the introduction of the abstract here and where is the problem stated?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, so I think the introduction starts from, I think it's the first sentence. Organisms cope with nutritional variation via developmental plasticity, adjusting traits like conditions for some traits while enabling others to develop in a nutritionally robust manner. So then I think the problem statement starts from yet the developmental mechanisms. I don't know if I'm right.
Okay, so
and the objectives we assess the functions.
Okay, right, thank you very much. But I heard just half of it, but I think she mentioned the introduction and the problem. So she says the introduction starts from organisms, ends at manner, robust manner, and then the problem starts from yet and ends at understood. And then she further said the objective or the aim starts from we assess. Any other person want to say something different or want to continue?
I think it has the results that our results suggested. So I think that's the outcome from that direction.
Okay. Yeah, the outcome or the finding or the results. Yeah. What about the implication? Implication. Or from all the work they have done, what did they conclude, or what can anybody reading the paper also further use that information for, or yeah, implication or conclusion or inference, however you want to call it. Anyone? Where can we find the implication? I said 2 hours. I'm almost and I'm not going anywhere. Anyway, implication. Okay, so combined with previous study, our findings suggest that that's the implication. I hope that it's as clear as it is. Okay, so yes, our introduction problem ends as understood. The aims we assessed and the findings is using RNA. Okay, good. Challenge 2. Okay, let's see if we can find introduction, aims, approach, finding. Where is the introduction problem?
I think the introduction and problem is from the beginning, raises a lot through to at the expense of another. Then I think the problem is, however, recent studies have called into question both the consistency and evolutionary importance of resource allocation trade-offs.
Okay.
And I think the aim also started from, and this study focuses on well-described trade-offs between the horns and eyes of orthophagus ethos or something, and assesses the degree of which it is influenced by genetic, developmental, and ecological conditions. And contrary to the expectations should be the findings.
Yeah.
All right. We observe that trade-off, blah, blah, blah. And I think those are the findings being listed in Roman numerals up until IV. Collectively, our results demonstrate that that should be the implications, I believe. Collectively, our results demonstrate that population subjects to different ecological conditions exhibit different patterns of and differential plasticity in resource allocation. Further variations right up to the last trade-offs, I think.
Okay, so I think it's very clear. However, I just want to say something. This one is someone's own that has been well written. So I hope that when we also write ours, when we are reading, we can easily pick out the parts. Okay, so let's look at the very published paper. Unfortunately, this one will come back to again. And let's see, looking at the abstract, can you tell me what you can say from the start to the finish? What do you see? Do you see a problem? Do you see an aim? Do you see something else? And then can you tell me if there's a problem with this particular abstract? And then I'll go and tell my supervisor. So let's see this particular abstract. Do you see any problem here? Or do you see something that was done right or was done wrong? Anyone?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
If I
what
may
do they
try.
start with? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so based on what you have just introduced us to in the form of the abstract, I think they came out by stating what the content is and what it has been done for some time. And then what they have gone to, like what they have done, and then the results of which they have gotten based on their what they conducted. And then I think they give the current state of work, which the product can be used for if it is veered into. I think that is what I have done. So for me, I think it's a bit, you know, what do you call it, explanatory, because they wrote about what they have done, they got their findings and conclusion, what present day, if it is used, what they will achieve from it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So over 100, how will you score this abstract?
I think maybe 85 is okay.
85. Okay, okay. Okay, so actually, because you saw have been studied here, you are thinking that they are giving a background. No, it's actually the work they did, but it's just the tense that is wrong. So immediately they started, they just told you that they just gave you the methodology. So everything here, because it's my field, I know. So everything here is just telling you about methodology. They didn't even tell you what the problem is about. They didn't give you any background. They just went straight into the methodology. And for me, it's a no. It's a no. I don't know. Why are we even doing this methodology? Okay, so for me, it's a no. You can't start like this. You just can't tell me what you are doing. Okay, all right. Later, you can tell me why you are doing it. But for you to just start a movie and you just show me the end, well, if that's your way of telling a story, that's fine. But they just start and give us the methodology here. Okay, then now here they give you the major products are obtained. Okay, even though they try to tell us a little bit about the results, they still go back into methodology. So everything here is still methodology. What major products we don't know. So it's still methodology, 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 and then they end here. So 99% of the abstract is just on methodology. And the present work provides new fundamental knowledge. Okay, so that's just the inference. No results. It's not an 85 at all. It's less than 20. No, it's not a good abstract.
So you were saying that people have to be a bit curious to go into finding out what it is. So maybe
Yes.
that's the curiosity of it.
But this whole methodology, I can get it in many papers in this field. This same thing, written the same way. So what makes your paper different? This same methodology, everybody uses that same shock tube. You all use it. You all use the flame. It's a typical procedure. So perhaps they copied it from somebody's paper and pasted it here. So this is a 0 for me. Even 20, I've given them something. It's a total 0. Because you just can't give me methodology and then I'm lost. Okay, so yes, you did a certain methodology, which I know everybody should do it. And then you tell me that, okay, based on that methodology, something can be done. We all know that without even reading your paper. No result, no single result was even stated here. You just told me the parameters you use for the experiment, but you didn't tell me even some of the experiment. And if I should use this fundamental knowledge, it means I have to go read your paper before. I don't have time. Perhaps the paper is very good, but you are not drawing me in here. I don't know if you get me.
Sure.
Yeah, this is my field, so I can judge it well. It's a very bad written abstract. But it's published already. Editor, vice versa. Anyway, yeah, so as much as possible, let's all try and do some good work. When someone reads your abstract, I know when you read a paper, the paper is actually a good paper. When you read a paper, you now connect the dots. But from the abstract, they said nothing. And I'm sure most of these things were copied from another paper. The only details they gave us was what particular fluors they used. Apart from that, there's nothing here that is so novel. Everybody knows this. Okay. The present work provides new fundamental knowledge. What knowledge? Okay, Isaac's hand is up. Isaac, you can go ahead.
Okay. So Freddie, please, if let's say, how would that differ for a paper that's a review where, yeah, you are reviewing maybe several, maybe a systematic review, for instance, how will that differ?
Okay, so I'm just pulling up a systematic review paper and we analyze someone's work. A review on what? What topic would you want us to look at? I'm seeing green AI, blockchain. Okay, blockchain, maybe I can say something.
Okay, I think
Systematic
blockchain
review of blockchain, financial, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so no, that one is, okay. Systematic review on blockchain cybersecurity. Yeah. So let it load quickly and then we can read it. Okay, so yeah, it is the abstract. Let me cover their name so that in case it's not good. Yeah. So since the publication of Satoshi's white paper, of course, we all know blockchain was founded on this. So it's giving the background. That's a very good start. Okay. This research identifies, okay, so blockchain has become one of the most frequently discussed methods for securing storage. Okay, so yes, this is a background, a very good background, no problem. This research identifies peer-reviewed literature that seeks to utilize blockchain for security purposes and presents a systematic analysis of the most, okay, so systematic analysis, what framework did you use? It was not stated. Okay, our findings show that IoTs lends itself well to blah, 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 the timely. I can't see a problem in here that someone see, maybe I cannot see it. Yes, the background is there, but blockchain is there. It's very good. It's a very good system for decentralized peer system. But you don't tell us a problem why we need to use blockchain. It's inside the background, but I know, but it should be clearly stated, okay, because of certain transactions that have not gone well, therefore we need the blockchain. So that should come even before the background. Get it? So you can state, recently there have been, you can give some statistics. There have been a lot of fraudulent transactions across various financial sectors. The concept of blockchain from Satoshi's paper, blah, 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 blah. This paper reviews peer-reviewed papers from high journals or high impact factor journals using the Prisma framework. Our findings show that you can now continue what you want to say. So maybe this one, they caught me with the Satoshi, but I'll still give them 90 because they left the problem out. You can go around looking at people's abstract and find problems, but okay, what about you? When you write your abstract, can there be problems? So you should know how to also self-criticize yourself before the work comes out. So it follows the same. Perhaps at the methodology side, so I gave you 4 models. So you can choose, I think, the second model where you actually talk about the methodology. So in that case, you can adapt for a literature review to be better than the others. But aside that, you can choose any of the 4 that I've given you, and it may work. You can also combine if you want. I think they are also similar. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, yes, please. I think that's fine. So, okay, so they found findings, and if you look at what you read, looks like they were able to meet quite a number of the things to look out for.
But my problem is they didn't say the problem. It's right, you know. Yeah, they didn't say the problem. Or
Yes,
clearly
there was
let us
no
know. But
problem
aside that,
stated. Yeah.
it's very good. It's a good abstract for a review paper.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, but Fred, if you are doing a systematic review, then you are reviewing what the literature in the area, is there necessarily a problem? And you want to see what's been written, right? Should there necessarily be a problem while you're doing the systematic review?
If there's no problem, then you do a narrative review.
Okay.
Like I said, maybe in our previous discussion, I'm sure you were here. So you don't state a problem, okay, that you cannot solve, right? In this case, you are stating other people's solutions to something. So whatever they've said that it's in their review that you are reviewing, you find a theme of problems, or not really per se problems, but there'll be some trend, okay? So nobody will just get up and just write a paper because they want to write. They want to solve something, which should be a problem. So every paper that you are reviewing there should be some problem in there somewhere. The only difference between the papers is that some were able to solve it, some could not solve it. But there'll always be an underlying problem somehow. But in this case, you are free because you are not the one solving the problem with your paper. You are collecting, okay, there's a general problem. There's a general research statement, or there's a general research, a problem statement that governs the systematic review, that you are using different papers to solve. Okay, so the only difference between a research article and a review article is that you didn't solve it, but the question is still there. So after you reviewed, you are exposing that, oh, after 10 years, no one has still solved this problem. Then you give it as your further, how do you call it, further work or suggestions for further study. And then maybe you can now go and solve that problem in a research article. The fact that it's a literature review doesn't mean that there's no problem. There has to be a problem, but you are using other people's work to answer it. And if it's a systematic review, you use a certain protocol, right? But after all the 50 or 40 papers that you have reviewed, you still realize that, oh, there is no answer to this problem. Make it as clear as possible in the conclusion. Or there has been an answer to this problem, but they've generated new ones, new problems because of this attempt. So there has to be that kind of problem statement running through, whether it's a research article or it's a literature review. It's the same. The only difference is in a research article, you solved it. In a literature review, you are using other people's answers to try and solve the question. I'll say pretty much that's the difference.
Okay, thank you.
But for the narrative, it's, yeah, you are just saying anything you want to say. You are talking about problems, you are talking about solution. You are not really, you are in the borderline. So it's not so clear. There could be no problem. You just want to talk about the field. That's the narrative. Yeah. But of course, once a field has developed, there will be challenges. There will be new trends. There'll be more problems. So there will always be some problem that a certain research paper was trying to solve. Did they solve it? Did they not solve it? Then that's the issue. And can you also solve it? Sometimes you can just expose the problem and leave it there. So now people who want to now solve problems in, let's say, Bitcoin or blockchain will now come and read your review paper and see, okay, these are the major challenges that has come across over the last 20 years. So we can now start trying to solve them. Or you, in your next paper, which is a research paper, can answer that question. Okay, so let's try and run a bit because time is fast spent. Okay, so we've done the T, the A. Now the introduction, which is the major work, but it took us 2 hours. Anyway, so at least 20 to 30% of your total word count is your introduction. And for me, I've divided them into about 4 or 5 parts. Okay, so your introduction should have, I'll not go so practical because we are behind time. Of course, the video and the PDF will be available to all of us. The importance of the topic, okay? So I'll try and create a very, I want to go to the moon. That's my motivation. And everything is as clean as I want to use water to power my rocket. So I'm an aerospace guy. So forgive me if I'm using those kind of examples. Oh no, let me come home. Let's say that dollar to, I'll not use CD because it's a sad situation. The RMB. Okay, so dollar to RMB has been stabilized over the last 10 years, approximately around 7.1. Okay,
That's a
an
right
assumption.
wrong.
Come again?
Sorry, no, I'm saying that that's not really the reality, but okay.
Yes, that's my assumption. That's why it's an assumption. That's my assumption. So my research is to expose whether it's true or not, right? So that's my my motivation. The dollar to the RMB over the last 10 years has been stable around 7.1 dollar to RMB ratio. The need for me to do this research is to see if, first of all, it's true. And if it's true, then what are they doing right? Or what is actually happening that this stability is there, right? So that's the importance of the topic. So my general statement, I already made it. So I can say that in the last 10 years, China.net gave the statistics, maybe, like I just said, 6.8, 6.9, 7.1, maybe in 2020, because of COVID, it came to 6.85, and then moved to 7.1. It has been moving on like stable like that. In the field of statistics or growth of trends of stability of currencies, we have not seen this before. You can't challenge me, it's my research. So I've stayed the niche, so in the area of statistics and blah, 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 yeah. The research gap, we don't know what the magic is about. So that's why I'm here today, to tell you the interesting story, or I'm going to investigate why this is happening and perhaps expose some of the secrets, okay? It's like, it sounded like a news report now. The problem statement is that there's lack of data to validate my statement about this stability. We also don't know the techniques of the economics that is going on that has caused this particular stability. If there are statistics to elaborate more on the problem, which I just said, we don't have more data to, then you can say, okay, apart from China, there's no other place. So I give more statistics that can further validate this problem, because I'm trying to convince you. There's a need to continue this because very soon we know that to be one-to-one. So there's a need to study this and try and apply this to a very pathetic situation like the CD. Research questions that I'll ask myself are: 1, is there a secret? 2, does it have anything to do with politics or the governance system? 3, is it because of redenomination something something? 4, I don't know. So assumptions, I've made some of them. Okay, so these are the questions, these 4 questions, I must be able to answer them at the end of my paper. And at the end of my paper, I should tell you clearly if question 1, 2, 3, 4 can be answered. If it cannot be answered, I'll just tell you, oh, after all this work, reading my paper, I couldn't answer it. I'm sorry. Or if I made assumptions based on the keywords and the problem, stability, trend, 7.1 can even be my my keyword in this case, because I want to say that assumption is true. So in the conclusion, which is the last part of the paper, I should be able to tell you if my hypothesis was true or false, right? Okay. So this part maybe should give you like 3, 4, 4 sentences, okay? Or let's say about 20 to 30 words, just this part of the introduction, which is background and motivation. All may not be applicable, but at least most of them, right? Then you go into the real work where you finish giving us the big picture. So now you want to tell us why we are doing this, okay? The intent of the work or the outcome of the study. So first of all, I'll collect data from the internet. I'll also do some private interviews, go to the banks, all the financial sectors, collect all the data, okay? If there are some significant results in literature, so I'll tell you, significant. So you don't state everything, 2 or 3 is okay. Then the research target or goal is to create a model that once you put in some certain factors, it can tell you if a country will be stable in the next 10 years or not. That's their currency. In the scope of the study, that is how I'm thinking. Okay, so step 1, I'll do this, step 2, I'll do this, step 3, I'll do this. You can draw this map beautifully and then show it in the paper. That can be your figure 1. Then the topic selection and research purpose, why I chose this particular topic. Is it significant even in the first place? Then the aims and research objectives. So I can have general objectives. For example, I want to see the factors or indices that help the stability of a currency between 2 countries, right? Or the currency of 1 country. And then there's specific ones we now narrow down to, is it related to governance? Is it related to this? So you can have a general one and then you break it down to 3 or 4. It's enough. Then you can show us some knowledge gaps. So what do you know? It may not be in research, but what do you know? Maybe the color of the currency affects the stability of the money. The color, from all that you know, by knowledge. You don't have any background to this. You don't have any research to validate it. But you'll feel that if your money does not have a red color, it will not stay. It's not be stable. If it's not white, it should not be stable. If you use some colors like green, the other one is what? Brown. Yes. Very dark colors. Your currency will not be stable. Okay. Use shiny colors like blue, red. It will be stable. This is my knowledge. There's no research to back this. Okay. But from research also, you know that if you reevaluate your CD and you don't arrest the dollar, it will also go. Then the literature gaps, you can also show them, right? So you can come from different aspects. The one I want to talk about is the knowledge gap, because it's from your personal experience and there's no literature about it. There's a way to carve it that it doesn't look like you are just saying something. Okay, try and find as much as something to validate it, because in literature, we don't believe anything except it is cited, right? So even though it's from your knowledge gap, it's a knowledge that you have. Try and find something to attach it. So in this case, because I said color of the money, so I'll go to another paper that talks about perhaps differentiation of color scheme to stability of the spectrum of light. It's totally different from what I'm doing, but I'll cite it there. You get it? Yeah, so because there's no other way I can validate this, but be very smart about that. Then you show us the importance of addressing these gaps. So this one should also give me, because I'm putting my personal story in there, it should give me more words, 40 words. That's just for that part. Then I'll go to what's around me. Okay, that's the local and international research status. Okay, so has somebody even done such research locally? So if I'm in China, has someone done it locally? Then I'll now move to what? International. What's the current status? So maybe they'll be able to prove that if you reevaluate the currency or redenomination, it's good. But nobody has done the color one because it's only me that will think about that. Then you can tell us how far they have done, like a trend, okay, just like a short story of, like I told you last time, there must be midpoints or transition points where we can look at the literature and it's clear. The reason why I didn't separate this part from the introduction, because it's a little bit like a literature review, is because for some fields in the sciences, the introduction has the literature in it. So this one is adapted like that, okay? But if you are someone who has different, introduction is different from literature, then you don't do this part, okay? But you just move it to the literature review. But for those that is merged, you use that. Anticipated findings. I believe that, this one is a belief, anticipated. So you believe that if you use orange color, because maybe orange is your favorite color, or yeah, if you use orange and it's very shiny, your currency never devaluates. Yeah, that's my anticipated, that I think I may find. I left the novelty part out, but I think that one is clear. Knowledge map, okay. So how are you exploring the research question based on various concepts in the field? So I've used machine learning, color differentiation, redenomination. If it's accounting and those things, they'll call all the very big jargons. So you can connect something like another map. That's figure 2. Key scientific issues to be solved. In this case, doesn't apply, but the color differentiation perhaps can go there. So all this, give us your limitations and challenges. The limitation is that lack of data, lack of money, lack of time. These 3 things are always there. Then you can think about other things, but you write it very beautifully in another way that it's academically sound. And a brief layout of the whole paper, including the next part. Then you summarize everything you said in the introduction, and then you connect it to, okay, in the next part, I'll look at the literature review. Any questions for introduction? I'm rushing because of time. So let the questions come. If not, I'll move on. Any question? If you don't believe my assumption to it, it's up to you. I believe if the color of the currency is shiny and it's very bright, or use white. Use white. If you don't want color, use white. Any questions so far on introduction? Oh. No questions. Wow. Okay. So the introduction connects, it's the next part of the abstract. So where we left off in the abstract, we are trying to build up more in the introduction. Introduction for a paper should be the same as introduction for a thesis. The difference is only the length and what you can say and what you are supporting with is the same, whether it's for a paper or it's for a thesis, the same format. Just the length varies. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll move on. Literature review, or what I usually call related works, because it's not really a review. So the research content, okay. So research content is about stability of currency or whatever the accountants or economists people will say. The key issue to be solved is that predicting the stability, expected research contributions. This one is different from anticipated findings. Anticipated findings, I said, just by what you anticipate. But here, expected research contributions in the theory. So what are you adding? Maybe you are developing a model, you are developing a color differentiation scheme, you are developing something that you expect to contribute to the theory or the practical aspect of that field. Then you now give us a literature mind map. So far I've mentioned 3 types of map. That knowledge map, how you are thinking, 1 paper, 1 figure. The research mind map, that is according to the concepts, and then the literature mind map, how the different papers are connecting. So 3 different kinds of mind maps can be in your paper, and this can be 3 figures already. I'll show you software that can help you do this mind map. So even if you don't have any figures in your paper, you should have at least some mind maps, 1 of them. Okay. Of course, you can't show us how you think always, but maybe the literature mind map, connecting different papers together about the research should be there in your chapter 2. or second part of the paper. Related works in sequence. So if you are using a thematic, systematic, blah, 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 you do that. Similar papers together, contrasting ideas separate. Identify the gap, justify your research with existing literature. If you cannot justify, like I show you, go and look for some borrowed concepts and try to justify. It must always be justified, else reviewers will choke you. Critical analysis and evaluation. So after you've read this part, we've done this last 2 weeks, sorry. Recent developments and current fields, diverse perspective, formatting, okay? So this is an example of some of the maps, okay? So this is actually a mind map, okay? So before you start the research, this is what you are looking at, okay? This is also another one. I think this is also another mind map. No, this is more of a research map. Yeah, it could be as simple as this, but of course you can't publish this one. But this is your initial draft on your A4 paper or whatever, tablet, just show what's connected to what and what is connected to what. This one also, for the literature people, review people, you can also do something like this, not as messy as this. These are some of the softwares you can use. Some are free, some you have to pay. Okay, then the third part of the paper, which is methodology, right? Here, you can state equations. Even if your field does not usually have equations, look for some equation and put it there. It makes the work look so professional. And especially if you are not sure about your results, just put some very complex equation there. Okay, it may not entirely, so you can say, and what you say after that is, the general form of this equation has been modified. So even if it's 50 parameters in that initial equation, you modified it to just 2 parameters, which was, and you don't even show the 2 parameters equation. You just, okay, so the general equation has been modified to develop this model. And your model is just an y plane. Yeah, so put a very complex one there, and then you modify it. So the modified form of this equation gives us a regression analysis that contains a bivariate model and all the jargons there. It's just an XY. Okay. If you don't sell yourself, nobody will sell you. But sell right. Okay. So put the equations there. So there might be at least 2, 3, 4 equations. Put it there. If there are some theories, put it there according to the Cook's model, according to the color model, according to the shiny model, according to the stability model, according to the redomination model. Whether they exist or not, I'll go and find literature to support it somehow. Statistics, you can put in some statistics here, but you should be careful how you do it, okay? So you do the model, the theory, and connect it to the statistics, because here I'm not supposed to show a lot of statistics, right? Statistics is coming in from literature introduction. But once you give a theory, you can give a short statistic, 2 or 3, and then you put in there. For those who are doing case study, experiment, model, you can put in all the things, the chemicals you put in, yeah, put in here. Because here, that's where the length is supposed to come. So if you're writing a thesis, yeah, this is where you fill the pages, fill in as much as you can with complex equations, very nice diagrams. If it's a thesis, you are free to use other people's, how do you call it? Figures. So look for a very nice paper. Go to Nature Journal. They are always good with diagrams. Go there, look for, of course, source, cite them. But if it's a paper, you have to ask permission and all that. So you have to draw it by yourself. What have I left out? So for me, the easiest part of writing a paper, or the easiest place I can start writing is methodology, because there's nothing new I have to say. I just have to read from other people's own and copy and adapt. Because the theory is there, state 4 theories, back them by some statistics, give some homogeneous, for those who don't understand homogeneous, very complicated equation, and then you give us the tools, protocols that you are using. If it's a very developed field, you have a lot of things to say here. This can take about 10 pages. Then now comes to your research design, okay, how you develop the whole research. Fortunately, you didn't develop it. It's already there, unless you are doing something new, which is the 8th point. But there's already an established methodology that even your professor and other students who are ahead of you have used. Just go and look at their paper. Do you have some data sources and softwares you use? Yeah. So if you use Excel to plot that graph, okay, you can talk about the initial collection of the data and everything was done in Excel. However, we did some data cleaning method. You don't know this, ask ChatGPT. So you use a simple machine learning. Now everybody hears machine learning, they're like, wow. I use a simple machine learning to classify my data into male and female. This can be done by normal sort in Excel, but to make your work look very wow, you can go and ask ChatGPT how to say this, okay? So you can frame it very nicely and put it there. Do you use some softwares? Go to the software site. They have tutorial manuals. What part of this one, copy it from there, of course, adapt and put it in there. Don't stress yourself. Methodology is the easiest part to write. Well, it depends on the field in which you are. Feasibility of the research. You must tell us that this is feasible. Okay, so inside there, because I want to travel to so many countries, I'll go and ask my supervisor, teacher, I want to go to 5 countries, 5 developed countries and 5, he said we shouldn't say undeveloped, we should say which one? Developing, developing countries. So you have to pay for my ticket and I'll collect all these monies from, of course, I have to be there and spend the money and then see how it feels to spend such money. So you can use such an excuse to travel because I'm doing such a research. Then you compare the color, the texture, the feel, how large the money is, what can you buy with that money and all that. Okay, you can show how feasible the research is. And the feasibility will come with some cost. So you should have some table showing the cost involved and the resources you need. And the research conditions that you need to, I must travel, my passport must be stamped. Yes. Then materials and equipment, if you are from the sciences or any other part, you need materials, you can show them. Application of existing methods, okay, I've already said. If you have new methods developed by you, well, that's the interesting part. You can talk and talk and talk. Whether it's true or not, you can still talk because you believe that method is by you. You are the one who has brought in something because for some fields, you have to develop a new protocol. So here you can expand the work as much as you can. Do you face any challenges, problems, and how you anticipate to solve them? Or, yeah, technical route and implementation, research plan, timeline, work flow chart. So you can give us a flow chart of how the methodology looks like. Ethical consideration, okay? It's a lot of things that it's one major thing that a lot of research don't add, especially for the sciences. They don't look at the ethical perspective, but you can add that. Do your results vary? By how much they vary? Learn some statistics. Okay, how can you adjust and adapt the results to different situations, expected research results, and of course, summarize all this and link it back to the topic, and introduce the next part, which is the results and discussion. Any question? People are getting sleepy. Any question? We'll end very soon. I'm running through this because it's not part of the time model. The time model was the title, the abstract, and introduction. So I'm done with that one. This one is just bonus. Any questions?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please. Yes, please.
Oh, now people are coming. Yes, yes. More questions.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the AI.
The AI.
So if you want to use the AI to aid you in writing the methodology, how are you going to use it and how are you going to make it in such a way that the AI will not be detected for your work to be said that it has been AI detected? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'll answer this and I'll go to the next question. So just copy the 1, 2, 3 in my slides and put it in whatever AI you're using. And then introduce the topic to the AI. Let it write for you. And then you inspect, which I always say, you must be responsible for the work. Okay, so why can AI writing be detected? Because it follows certain rules. Okay, so it's following a method. Just try and change those things, okay? It's writing a certain way and it's predictable. That's why whatever algorithm that is detecting the AI can see it. It's not some magic. It's just because the AI writes in a certain way, right? It starts from introduction and it always end by in conclusion or in summary. So remove all those in summary and conclusion. And with time, you can paraphrase. Paraphrasing is an art, I always say it. Maybe one of our next session. So if you want us to do paraphrasing, put it in the feedback form. We'll look at paraphrasing another time. That's the only way you can build the AI system. And of course, you write it by yourself as much as possible. But the initial draft, you can use the AI following this particular framework. That is those that apply.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I heard the lady's voice.
Yes, please. My question is, with the methodology, you were saying we should incorporate other people's work, other aspects. So how do you, like, how doesn't it, like, I don't know how to put it, but how do you make sure it doesn't sound like the literature review? Because that's the sole purpose of the literature review. How do you really differentiate so that the methodology and the review doesn't look like it's just a continuation of your literature review in your methodology? Thank you.
So you cite other people's work without citing them. That's the answer. So
I didn't hear that.
You cite them or you state their work without citing them. It's not against the guys. So
that's like for the methodology aspect.
Yes, because it's a method. So if I'm using, because I'm designing a rocket, I'm using Newton's first law, which is giving me certain equations like force equals to mass as acceleration due to gravity. I cannot go and say Newton et al. No, it's a methodology that is known. So you are stating people's work. What I mean by stating people's work there is you are stating people's work, but you are not really citing them. Because in methodology, we are not supposed to see some referencing even there at all, right? But it's done by somebody we know, but it's a theory that is existent. Unless it's a new theory developed by you, even there you don't cite yourself. So applications of existing method, like, for example, in re-evaluation of the, or in redenomination evaluation of the CD, okay, we remove a lot of zeros, right? So you can go and look for a theory that says that for you to cut down on a number, which is just what we call approximation. So according to the approximation model, you can approximate a number to the nearest 100, the nearest 1,000, to the nearest million. And that's what Ghana has done. They approximated to the nearest 10,000. You can't say that according to somebody's model. The model you state it's somebody's work.
Okay.
Yeah, so here you state, but you don't do the etal and those things. No, it's not necessary because it's a framework that we all know it's popular. But if it's a certain protocol, of course, that it has a name. So if the Prisma method, if it's the certain analysis, you state the analysis and that's enough. You don't need to tell us who did it. You are not citing the work. You are just using the model or the equation or the name of, if it's a regression analysis model.
So, based on what you're saying, okay, based on what you're saying, like it should, the write-up should really be based on the model itself, not what other people have also said about the model. Is that it?
No. Here you don't say that. You say all that in the literature.
Literature.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? So this part, if you are very good in your field, you are quite exposed in your field, you don't even need to open any paper to start writing. You can write it first. The software is used, what you do, you can write this part first. The equations, like I said, look for the ones you don't even understand, put it there. Then, like I said, the modified version is used in this model. Yeah. Because now everybody wants to use AI for something that even a normal human being can do. Because we want to be lazy. So yeah. Any question? Results and discussion. Maybe because I've taken too much time, people are angry with me. Pardon for that. Okay, results and discussion. Here is a big challenge for even myself. The reason being that it is subjective. Whatever results you get, you can explain it however you want it to be. Nobody can catch you. How you interpret your results is up to you. Just that if you meet a very tough reviewer and you say, no, this one, you can't interpret it this way. But why am I saying subjective? Because people having the same result or two different people analyze the same results can interpret it differently. So first of all, present the results nicely in some charts, in some table, in some figure, okay? Then the part that is explanation, you explain the one that you know you can explain. and it is tying your initial argument. But if it doesn't tie, then it means that you have to start the whole research again, or you can just say that, okay, contrary to what I expected, this is what I'm seeing. That's, you want to be honest. But always you can find a way to explain. If you cannot explain your result, go back to the theory. I said this the last time. If you cannot explain the result, go back to the theory. Some way, somehow, some theory can back you out. Okay, so present your results. And presenting of the results it does a trick for a lot of people in review processes. If you get a reviewer whose English language is not his first language, you can get them with the nice images that you have given them, nicely presented images. They will understand it without reading the concept. And then they might even pass the work without reading the other parts of the work that were poorly written. So here I encourage everyone, get 1 or 2 software that you can be good at in your field. Start from Excel, you can move to Python, you can move to Origin, you can move to all the very nice data tools, because every research, you have some data to collect. The Stata, what's the name? Amos's, the other one, ANSYS Fluent. Find ways to interpret your results or present your results, sorry. As for the interpretation, you can ask ChatGPT to help you or go back to the theory. Now, if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, you can upload your results and it may say something that can trigger something and you can also write something. The challenges and limitations, or of course, observe trends and surprises, something you didn't observe. Like something you observed or something that surprised you. So although I said that the shiny currencies, according to my model, it says that your currency should be printed black. If it's black, everybody that holds it respects it, so it never devaluates. That's a surprise, or contrary to the expected results, right? Some challenges you faced in even interpreting the results, in gathering the results, in doing the work, in presenting the results, right? Your supervisor lets you go to only 4 countries instead of 5. It's a challenge. It was a limitation. You wanted to go to a certain country, but you were denied visa. It's also a challenge. You can add it. That is in perspective of this research. Then now you start comparing. You compare you versus you. What do I mean? Let's say you use 2 methods, right? So you compare one method, maybe one did better than the other. One was 90% accurate. The other one was 99% accurate. So you compare you versus you, and then you show your best result as the boss. Then now you use you versus others, your best results as the boss versus other people's own. And you say that mine is far, far better. Or even my worst one is better than somebody's best, right? Then how different are you from the other? Did you use different methods? Can you try and explain some of your bad results? Can you try? Can you try? Because here, it's not always you can explain. Sometimes you just don't know what is going on. But if the theory does not help you, then you just give, perhaps this is the situation, perhaps this is the situation. Integrate the data, analyze the data, show us how this result is very, very important and can fit within the whole perspective. So like I said, color is important. I propose white. Contrary to the results, I realize it's supposed to be black, right? Then I'll conclude. So it tells us the significance of the findings, the general challenges and limitations in the whole work. Did you answer your research questions? That's important, right? Or your hypotheses, were they true or false, right? You can call them back. And I said, no matter how your data looks, okay, create a very nice impression. Try and present a nice story about it, okay? So if you know that you yourself, what you have done, the accuracy is 10%, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Try and create a nice impression. And then say, oh, in the future work, if we do this better, we can do better with the results, right? Or perhaps there's a certain lack of understanding that we don't have, hence this particular bad result shows. If there are research implications that you want us to also do based on your results, you tell us, future work and all that. When you are done with the paper, I always don't get to this part. It's so unfortunate. So maybe reference managers write up using them also should be separate. I think that should be a separate class. But aside that, you have your references according to the journal or the school expectations, and everything should flow in this order. When you have this PDF, you can just go through and extra information is here. Thank you so much. This is the end of my talking. Any questions? The feedback form, I think I should send it again. If you are not in the group, try and join the group. Any questions? Let me stop sharing. Any questions? Any questions? There was silence. Any questions? I finished talking, so now it's your turn to talk. Any questions?
Okay, so this is not a question, but I would like to say thank you so much. This is really, really helpful. So thank you for your time and for teaching us
Please
everything.
put
Thank
that in the feedback form so that when we
you. Okay, sure, will.
maybe I'll forget what
Thank
you
you.
said, but when I see it again, I'll shake my head.
Hey.
All right.
All right.
We need questions. Okay, that's for the group, and then the second one is for the feedback form. For those of you not in China, you can connect to me by email, which I'm putting in the chat box. And then the recordings and everything will get to you. Questions? Questions? Thank you so much, Godfred, also for attending. Without you, I'll be talking to myself here. And everyone that came. Let me see if I skipped some questions earlier. It's my second talk. Okay. So I skipped some topics because they sent to me directly. Maybe I think they don't want us to show it. So sorry about that. But I think every comment here has been addressed. Questions, questions?
Okay, there's one. Do you have a recommended specific word count for the abstract?
So 100 to 300, it's okay. But depending on if it's a journal, they have their own. So just go to the journal website and then you check it there. Usually it's around 150 to 200. It's okay, depending on the journal. But if it's for a thesis, you can expand it more, like 400.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, questions. I know Paul will tell me that people are assimilating, so there are no questions. So I've said it, don't come and say, Paul. Questions, I need questions. Questions. I hope the name was Paul. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's Paul who always says that. Paul, am I right? Yeah, Paul is the one who says that. Questions?
Oh, I said something about assimilation.
Yeah, last time I asked
Was
questions,
it?
I said people are assimilating. That's why I the question.
Oh no, I think it was one of that guy who made that
Okay.
comment. I saw.
All right, all right. Questions, questions. If not, in 4 minutes we'll close. Questions. You can fill the feedback form now before you forget. You can join the WeChat group. Also, you can send me an email so that if you need the videos, I can send it back to you. Questions. And you can spread the word. I didn't add that one. If you feel that what I'm saying here is not nonsense, you can spread the word and then we all learn together. Some of your questions are very intriguing to me also. I don't think about them when I'm preparing such things, but it gives me more insights on what to say next time. So we have 3 more minutes, then we'll end officially. So it's supposed to be a 2-hour class. Or should I say challenges? Maybe you can say the challenges. If there are challenges that maybe you want us to address in the next class, that's if it also falls in line with what we want to offer, we will consider them. The presentation PDF, If you are not on the page, you can send me an email. I'll send everything to you, including the video. But if not, every other thing will be sent to the WeChat group. So that's how the resources will be sent. I'm not seeing anyone joining the WeChat group. So it means send me an email and then I'll send it to you. Oh, okay. Let's see other people join. Feedback form also important. 2 more minutes and then we officially close. Questions, comments, challenges.
Also, with references, like how many do you also recommend? And then do you recommend just adding anything related to your research at all, even if you didn't reference it in your write-up?
Okay, so 40 to 50 references, it's okay. Whatever you reference in the text should be in the reference list. You cannot add any other thing that is not in the text in the reference list. I think that answers the question, right? So if you cite 40 references in the text, the main text, then you can also cite list 40 in. So once you do that with the reference manager, it's easy. It will just automatically populate for you. So you don't have extra surprise references. Okay, our time is up. The absence of no question. Or if you remember, after I end, you can put it in the feedback form and then the question may be answered. It's anonymous, so I don't know how I answered. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate your time, even though we've extended 1 more hour. You were all, okay, not all, some of them stayed and not everybody left. I appreciate it very well also. All right, thank you and see you in the next class, hopefully. Bye-bye.